Pasta carbonara is one of those dishes that I feel kind of guilty not sharing with you earlier because it's so extremely easy to make, and I whip it up practically all the time when I'm not really sure what to make, especially for guests. And it's actually the ultimate resourceful meal because if you have eggs and bacon in your refrigerator, you're good to go. So because it's a little warmer outside now, I thought I would make a spring pasta carbonara. It's kind of a twist on the classic because it's still creamy and rich, but there's a hint of brightness from the fresh citrus flavor of the lemon and a bunch of green spring vegetables. And I think that's the best part about spring, the fact that everything is in abundance right now. So feel free to use whatever you have on hand, whatever you want. So if you want a creamy but still light tasting carbonara, then grab your lemons, let's go into the kitchen and I'll show you how to make it. This spring pasta carbonara is really easy to make, and all you need is pasta, eggs, thick cut bacon, peas, lemon, leeks, arugula, red pepper flakes, and Parmesan cheese. I love leeks, and honestly, you can eat them all year round, but especially during the springtime, they are just so abundant and fresh, and look how huge they are. So if you happen to have a leek that's this big, see, then you only need one. And if not, then use two. Like sometimes they come really skinny or like 3 in a bundle, so then use 2. But what you're gonna do is you have to clean them because they're actually really dirty. You're just gonna use the white to the pale green parts only because the top green parts are actually a little bit hard and tough. So I don't actually throw them away. I clean the tops, but I save them in a Ziploc bag in the freezer, and then I throw them into stock when I'm making soup, and then you don't have to use onions. You're gonna wanna slice them in half lengthwise. And with leeks, it helps to remove the outer waxy layer because that can get a little tough to eat, just like when you remove the tough layer from an onion. And if you want to, you can always slice it up first and then dunk it in a cold bowl of water. But I just like to run my fingers through all the layers and make sure that all the sand is out, keeping them intact. Then you're just gonna slice them into thin moons. The thinner the better. So according to this book I read, French women don't get fat. French women will usually detox when they're feeling a little bit bloated and whatever to eat leek soup, and then they use it as kind of like a cleanse, similar to like a juice cleanse would do. I don't know, I haven't tried it out myself. All I know is that it tastes so good, so I love it. I have 5 strips of thick cut bacon. Make sure that this baby says thick cut. For some reason, I can't find pancetta in a lot of the grocery stores. So pancetta, you know, it's kind of like that salty Italian bacon. But if you can't find it, then just get thick cut and it'll do just fine. And now I'm just cutting the 5 strips of thick cut bacon into 1-inch pieces, roughly. So I'm just gonna wash everything up, including my greasy hands, and then we're gonna move over to the stove.
I wish I had a little piece of child.
You're gonna wanna work side by side, meaning that while you're working on your bacon and leeks, you're also simultaneously gonna be boiling your pasta. So you do want them to be done at the same time, but if you can't really judge that, then make sure that this part is done first, your bacon and your leeks, and then your pasta is done, because you're gonna need the heat from the pasta in order to cook the egg mixture of your sauce. So make sure you get a pot of salted boiling water on the stove. And wait for your bacon to get crispy and render all of its gorgeous fat, because that fat is important too. The bacon got nice and crispy and crunchy, browned, and all the fat from it has rendered off into the pot. So just drain it with a slotted spoon onto a paper towel lined little plate. And now there's a whole lot of fat in here. We're gonna pour that into a little bowl. Gonna add back 2 tablespoons to the pot. And then keep this ready, because at the end, I'm gonna add a little bit more when the pasta's in there, so you have extra flavor. Don't mind the lawnmower guy, if you can hear him outside. It is springtime after all. So now we add our leek right to that delicious bacon fat. I've told you this before, but adding salt to anything draws the moisture out and helps it to soften better. And of course, the black pepper. And I have this on high heat, and we're just gonna let this soften for anywhere between 5 to 7 minutes. Yeah, we're gonna go a little bit long because we wanna get this nice and soft and sweet and tender. So I would say at this point, you could make sure your water definitely is on a boil, and then we're gonna start cooking the pasta, and hopefully we can time it correctly at the same time. So the leeks are starting to soften and turn fragrant, unbelievably fragrant, might I add. And then I just put in 3/4 of a box, so 3/4 of a pound of a short pasta, any pasta that you want. And if you don't want to use a short pasta, then you can go traditional and just use regular spaghetti, like spaghetti carbonara. Let me talk about some bacon drippings. Okay, so now you probably are wondering what you do with the leftover bacon drippings. Honestly, I actually save it, because that's one way of being resourceful, and I'll prove it to you. So when you put cooled bacon fat in a refrigerator, then it solidifies like butter, like this, see? And you can just use this in replace of butter or vegetable oil or anything else when you're cooking. And it just adds that really nice flavor. So this is good for like fried rice or stir fries, even pancakes. I mean, it's amazing. So it has that little salty, porky goodness flavor. So don't throw it out. And then also do not pour it down the sink, because that's not friendly to the environment. So what I'm going to do is add back my bacon. I'm obsessed with crushed red pepper flakes, so you don't have to put this in, but I like the little spicy kick it adds to it. So 1/4 teaspoon. And the last thing I'm gonna do is add 1/2 cup of frozen peas that, because it's so warm in here, actually defrosted on its own. So we're just gonna throw them in to warm it through. And then I'm just gonna turn this off for now. Once the pasta is cooked and the starches are coming out into the water, then you just grab a measuring cup and pull out about 1/4 cup of this water. This is your glue. Now I'm gonna quickly make my sauce. And this is what I love about carbonara, because this is 2 eggs, 2 large eggs. If you guys read our blog, then you know that Joe is not a big fan of creamy things. But for whatever reason, he really doesn't mind this. He actually likes this. You just add some grated Parmesan cheese. So I have here 1/4 cup plus a little extra that I'm holding back for sprinkling on top. So this is gonna add about most of this in. Yes, this is a raw egg sauce, but the heat of all these ingredients, the heat of the pasta water that you held back, and the heat of the just drained pasta is gonna cook this slightly. And it's gonna emulsify all together to make this gorgeous sauce. That's why you gotta work quickly and simultaneously. And then my touch, and this is what makes it spring, I think. Just gonna add 1/2 of a lemon. Whenever you add juice to something, you might as well add zest too, because that's where the flavor really is hiding. Forget spring, it smells like summer in here. But of course, if lemon isn't your thing and you want to keep it classic, just do everything without the lemon part. You grab your still warm pasta. This is optional because there is 2 tablespoons of bacon fat in here, but I think this adds another little bit of flavor to it. And I'm just gonna add another tablespoon more. A little bit of salt and pepper. And then you wanna loosen it up and emulsify everything so you can get that reserved 1/4 cup of hot, starchy, salted cooking water. Okay, and then while everything's still warm, add your egg, and you gotta work fast because you don't want your egg to scramble. You wanna make a velvety, rich, creamy sauce. But again, you gotta work fast and off the heat. And then my last little Julie touch is adding 2 big fistfuls of arugula. I love peppery, sharp arugula. You don't have to worry about cooking it because I like the warmth of the pasta to kind of just wilt it down slightly. Do you hear that sound? Listen carefully. Doesn't that just sound yummy? Okay. And guys, that's it. Time to plate. How cute and springy. A little bit of cheese. I just want to dance. It's like really ridiculously good. It's just like the combination of the salty, savory bacon, that richness of the yolk from the eggs and the cheese, and then that little bit of surprise lemon zest and juice. It just pops. And those leeks, the sweet peas, and the peppery arugula, it's all about balance, right? And it's so complex, but it was so simple to make. All right, I really do want to go hide somewhere and eat this by myself, but how about some substitutions? If you didn't want to use arugula, then you could use baby spinach and just use the same method and fold it in towards the end to let it wilt slightly. Instead of peas, you can use asparagus. But what I would do is just throw it in, just chop it up small and throw it in at the last minute of cooking your pasta and drain it together and then toss it together. And I mentioned this before, but you could always just omit all these little extras that I did with the lemon zest, the juice, and even the leeks, and keep it classic because classic carbonara is literally the same method I use, except simply bacon and eggs and cheese. So I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I hope you really give this a try because it's perfect for this time of year. Well, if you enjoyed watching this, remember to push like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. I think I outdid myself on this one. It's so pretty too. Too bad we don't have guests over. Actually, that's better.